So this is the new can, and these are the straps. We're entering into bear season. I actually just moved into a house that is like bear central. I know it's going to be there, but I'm not quite sure how to set my can up.
Well, there's a number of different ways you can do that. You know, I like the Ratchet Straps the best. There's a couple different kinds. I know they sell them at Madison as well as Walmart. They have these press ones that are pretty easy, and then they have a regular Ratchet Strap, and they do sell them individually.
Okay.
But really, that is the best way to secure your container. Some people use bungees, and the bungee cords, what it really does is keep the lid tight to keep the smell inside the can. That's where bungees work good. But if you have a bear problem, the best way to solve it really, if you live within the city, is a Ratchet Strap. And these, like I said, they're very easy to use. You just wrap one end through the handle, bring the other end down through the rod, hook it together. And this one here, you just pull it tight, and
wow,
that keeps the lid down. Keeps the lid down on it.
That's the sound I don't want to be hearing.
Yeah, that's it. You know, they'll tip this thing over, jump up and down on it. It stays together, and they just move on down the block. The Ratchet Straps, they work the same way. The ones with the ratchets, they just go around the lid, around the center hook.
And so really this just takes a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It'd take a lot less time
Than cleaning up my garbage.
to ratchet down your container than to be chasing your garbage all over the block, including your neighbors, including their neighbors. But they work extremely well.
I can totally.
But one strap's sufficient. You know, I got two on here for the two different kinds, but one strap's plenty good. And you know, the best way, like I said, to wrap through the back of the handle, down through the center bar, and just tighten. You don't want to tie it onto the handle or tie it down below, because when the guys dump the containers, we don't want this thing flying through the air and smacking them in the back of the head.
Exactly.
Because these cans go upside down. But that really is a very effective way to keep the bears out of your garbage and keeping your garbage in your can.
Quick question, anything that I shouldn't be using? Let's say that for one reason or another I can't get my hands on a Ratchet Strap, or maybe my Ratchet Strap disappeared, because I'm going to be writing my name and address on my Ratchet Strap.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I'm going to see some dude at the salmon derby with this on his boat, and I want my Ratchet Strap back. But what should I not be using? What makes it difficult for you guys?
I can tell you one thing not to use is rope. A lot of people use rope. They tie it, they bring it through and tie it, all kinds of knots. The guys go through and they're trying to untie it, it's wet, it's tight. They end up taking their knife and just cutting it off, because, you know, if every can was tied in a knot, and the number of cans they pick up a day, I'd need 8 guys instead of 2.
Right, exactly.
But really, if you're not having a major issue, a bungee works to keep the smell down, but if the bears start getting in, you want to definitely go to a strap. And I like these because they just pull tight and they got a quick release on them. So, but you know, to each his own. But doing the straps is a very, very effective way to keep your garbage safe and keep a bear safe as well.
Awesome. I've got a quick question. I maybe put sensitive items in my garbage. Maybe I want to padlock it or something. Well, aside from the fact that I would have to give your guys a key or a combination. But is that a good idea? I mean, I could just like drill a hole right there.
Well, I've seen a number of different things people have done, but the problem is that these cans that we buy, they're pretty expensive, and they have a 10-year warranty. So if you go drilling holes and stuff in it, it's going to void the warranty on the containers.
Okay.
You know, we definitely don't want to do that. Every once in a while, I have had a lid break or a rod break, and they're really good about warranting them. But they want tons of pictures of the container to see why it broke.
Right.
And I know if we start drilling holes and stuff like that in them, it's going to void the warranty.
And there is one other issue. This particular container is available only to city residents, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
In time, hopefully they'll have them in the borough or be able to offer them. You know, so in the borough, I know that's a little bit different. You know, there, you know, they can bungee their containers out there. What I've seen that works really well, because I had a neighbor that constantly had a problem. They built a little corral for their garbage, and that was the end of that. They've not had a bear over there in 5 years since they built a corral. The bear can't get to it.
Good deal.
That works extremely well, and it's you know, it really boils down to, and you know, you don't want to get a ticket for having your stuff scattered all over. And the reality is, to build a small corral or something, if you live in a borough, it'll well be worth your time.
It might be cheaper than the ticket.
It'd be a lot cheaper probably. And not only that, then you'll have happy neighbors as well.
Perfect.
So.
Boy, this is amazing because we've got the bear season happening again, but you guys are doing some different things this year, right?
We're going to make it a community-wide project to get out to people ahead of time and talk to them about what they can do with their garbage containers, what they can do with, this is the time right now. Take care of your bird food, your bird feeders, your pet food, secure your garbage in whatever container or in the shed. If you've had it out all winter, now's the time to make those changes.
Okay, so biggest problem areas for bears?
Having a can like this that they can just flip the lid up and get into it. They're going to scatter things around. They're going to clutter your yard and the neighbor's yard and cause an attraction for other bears to come in. Big problem.
So is this an area-wide problem, or is it more in the city, more in the borough? And is it really kind of more specific to an individual's situation at their property?
Area-wide. It's,
okay.
You know, we live in Southeast Alaska. We got high densities of black bears. We want to keep those black bears conditioned to natural foods. When they come into our residential areas and around people and they find good food to eat, they're going to come back over and over again.
Right.
What you do right now in April is going to determine what our summer is going to look like for bears coming in and around our houses.
So talk to me. I'm the person who did not heed your warning.
Yep.
Or I just didn't believe it. Maybe I'm new to the area. And so I thought, well, you know, I have not seen any bears in my neighborhood, whether I'm, you know, out south, out north, or in town.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put like this little strap or no strap. And all of a sudden, I've got a bear. My neighbors are complaining. What happens next?
Well, you need to be talking with your neighbor, because what they do is going to affect you and what you do vice versa. But if you've got a bear that is so persistent, it's getting through these straps or getting into your shed and showing a persistent behavior, give us a call. If you've already made those changes and it didn't work, call either Lenny at the landfill here or me at Fish and Game.
Okay.
And we got lots of other good ideas to fix it.
So take me through the chain of events that happens to the person who simply is not going to follow the rules, for lack of a better term. I just don't care. I've got a bear problem. My neighbors are complaining. You know, they're putting pictures of my garbage on Facebook. And I say, you know what? I don't care.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems is usually the perpetrator or the person that's letting these bears into their garbage just disappears. It's your neighbor that's having the problem.
Okay.
Your garbage is accumulating. So Lenny and I will go out, or one of us will go out and look at the garbage, the scatter, and we're going to find something that'll track down the person who owns it. Then you're going to get a warning, and then you're going to get a citation. So we're willing to give you a warning, kind of a heads up that you need to make some changes, and then it's a $200 fine. So it's in your best interest and the neighborhood's best interest if you just secure things.
So let's talk about that for a second. $200
Yep.
is a decent sum of money for most folks, as opposed to taking the 2 minutes maximum to ratchet this down, and I don't know what these ratchets
That
cost.
strap might cost $4.
Okay, as well as the 30 minutes to an hour, if not longer, to pick up the garbage, and not to mention the irreparable harm that you've done to your relationship with your neighbors.
With your neighbors, you're also conditioning those bears that hey, this is a great place to come to find food. And then when you venture out, go to your car or out down your driveway, and a bear shows up, you've created the attraction.
Exactly. And I think, you know, it's not too far-fetched to mention the fact that, you know, this is their habitat, and you're creating an additional habitat.
Right.
You're the biologist here,
Right.
so I may be using the wrong terminology. But, you know, no one wants to see any harm come to an animal, and that's eventually what will happen if you have these persistent animals, correct?
Right, and it's just
unfortunate.
unnecessarily killing them. We can learn to live around them. It's called bear safe. You know, you can call it a lot of things, but it's living around wildlife. Whether it's keeping deer out of your, you know, yard and your bushes that are eating your favorite bushes. In the bear's case, you're also creating a hazardous situation.
Right, amazing. So what are some of the weirdest stories that you've heard of folks in terms of, you know, maybe they've taken the precautions, yet the bears still did that?
Yeah, and just once you get them coming into the yard, you know, I've got a bear in my house, I've got a bear in the yard, I've got a bear just went through the yard. Those kinds of calls don't get much of our attention. They may, we might make a note of it, but we don't go out on calls where a bear just went through the yard, because these bears live in and amongst our houses.
So as a biologist, do you take a look every year at some of the trends, if you will, in terms of, say, 3 years ago, and I'm not saying this is the truth, but say 3 years ago, it seemed like we had a lot more bear activity in the middle of the city. But however, last year, suddenly it was south of town.
And we do that. We keep track of that. If people have been around here for very long, you notice that we have less bear activity, less bear nuisance calls. There was a time back in the early 2000s when we killed 15 bears in and around Ketchikan.
Holy smokes.
So Ketchikan police, troopers, myself, and residents, that's too many.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so we've got the same number of bears, but we're getting better at securing things. And that's what we're emphasizing right now. Everybody do a little bit, and it's going to go a long way.
Okay, quick rundown of the hints that you have for people in terms of bear prevention.
Just right now is the time to condition those bears. Get rid of your bird feeders. That was great. You could watch birds all winter, but get rid of those, get the suet down, get your pet food secured, because the dog food, cat food is very attractive. It's right on your doorstep. That's the last thing you want, to step out your door and the bear's in the dog food.
Or if you have a doggy door.
Right. Well, doggy doors don't seem to cause a
door.
problem. We've had cubs go through doggy doors. Those have happened, but we've had bears go through people's windows. You know, just you put the pies out on the deck or whatever. Be aware that you may be attracting a nuisance bear or a problem bear. A female's about 70 to 190 pounds on average. Males are, you know, 100 pounds up to, we've had some up to over 400 pounds.
Wow. That's
a big black bear. We had one when they killed a lot of the bears that were, when this was an open landfill. You know anything about that? When this was an open landfill, this was the place to go to do bear viewing at the landfill. People still, Lenny said, come up the hill and say, well, hey, I come up to watch the bears.
Where's the bears? We don't have any.
When the biologists, the troopers and the KPD officers were talking about closing this landfill down and making it unavailable to bears, they thought they had about 30 to 35 bears that were frequenting this area. By the time they closed the landfill, started killing, moving bears, and relocating them, they handled almost 80 bears. So it was incredibly higher bear numbers and higher bear densities than anybody thought. They also had wolves that were feeding up here on a regular basis, so they'd habituated to human smells, and they were living here. So we're in a lot better place now. We've made a lot of progress in the last few years, and that's why, you know, this community-wide effort to emphasize to people that it's not just your garbage, it's not just his garbage, it's everybody's garbage, everybody's responsibility, and we can make some really big changes.